Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Immigrant Education Collaborative Podcast. Today I have a very special guest all the way from South America, from Brazil. Muito obrigado, Rosa. Thank you for doing this. How you doing?
De nada, bom dia. Yeah,
That's
I
all.
am doing fine.
Okay, that's all the Portuguese I have. That's it. So we're not going to go any further. Okay, so thank you for doing this. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where'd you grow up? Like, talk to us about your early life, like where you were born, where you grew up, like your early years, especially starting school. How was that?
Well, I grew up in Brazil most of my life, half a part of my life until I was 15 years old.
Hmm.
I was born in Brasilia, Brazil, very dry kind of area. Went to school, elementary school there, and
Hmm.
until junior high. And that's when I came over here to the United States in the early 80s
Okay.
and finished high school here at the DC, Washington, DC
Hmm.
itself. So I always have lived in Washington, DC, and later on I moved to Maryland as an adult 5 years ago.
Okay. All right. So what was that like moving to DC at 15? What was that like for you? Like leaving Brazil, coming to America? Were you speaking English in Brazil before you came?
Fortunately, no. I was kind of surprised to hear the English
Hmm.
when I first came over here. I was a little bit, anxious and scared. And I came in January, so there was kind of a lot of snow because I came into New York and there was a lot of snow. It was the first time I ever saw snow in my life, and I thought
Hmm.
somebody had dumped some stuff, from the ice from the
Yeah.
refrigerator into the city.
Right.
And I didn't understand well what it was at that
Hmm.
time. And then someone told me those are the pile of snow that they push it
Okay.
back into the streets. And then I got a flight over here to Washington D.C. To me, the surprise was the weather more than anything else.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was very shocking to me to feel I see this beautiful sky, blue sky, and no leaves on the tree. And I thought, what happened to it? Nobody
Yeah.
really prepared me for the shock that I was going to receive when I came over here. So
Yeah.
that was kind of, something that it stayed with me all these years is the
Yeah.
the frigid air to now seeing the leaves on the trees and then see this beautiful clear sky and the weather, and I couldn't understand that with the English part of it, immediately I came on, I think it was a Saturday, and on Monday, my mother already had me enrolled in the English emerging program that I
Hmm.
took 4 hours in the morning, then I took 4 hours in the afternoon. As a teenager, of course, I picked it up quite fast, and by September, I was ready to start high school.
Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 So what school did you go to when you came here? When you got to
Actually, I
DC?
went to it was originally was called Multicultural Bilingual High School,
Uh-huh.
and it was over Columbia. Is this is Irving Street and 16th Street, which today they call the Bell Bilingual
Mm-hmm.
High School,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's where I went. It wasn't called Bell Bilingual High School because Bell was a building behind on before you get to 14th Street Northwest,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a almost like a trading school, a preparation school, not a high
Mm-hmm.
school itself.
Uh-huh.
And then they transferred over to what they call the Columbia Heights High School campus.
Uh-huh.
It's just a campus itself. And so I graduated from there. They were recruiting for international schools, I mean, international students
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
and trying to make a multicultural high school for students who were coming from all different places around the world. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a very unique kind of experience because I had students from China, friends in high school that was from China, from Nigeria, from Mali, from, I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
It was under from Central America, South America was all under one single building. It was
Yeah.
very interesting to see the outfits, the food, because a lot of that was really shocking to me. It was the
Hmm.
food from high school, a
Yeah.
horrible. Good. I never ate that food there.
Yeah.
Everybody of international students had their little bags of their own,
Yeah.
food from India. And I just imagine this hallway of a cafeteria with
Yeah.
all the senses and the
Yeah.
smell of the
Yeah.
different foods. So
Yeah.
it was really interesting.
Okay, cool. So it was a nice transition for you in terms of the cultural exchange that you got. You weren't the only student who had a foreign background at this high school.
Now there were 400 students from
Yeah.
all over the world.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a nice cultural exchange. So talk to me as you're in high school, you're learning English, you're settling into American culture. What are you thinking about, as all this is coming to you really fast? What are you thinking about doing, like as for a career or work after high school? Like what are you thinking about doing? Are you thinking about college? Are you thinking about what professions are you even thinking about as a teenager in high school?
As a teenager, because of the culture, my mother inserted in me that my culture when I was growing up. Not today. That today, Brazil is very much progressive, like it is right here in the United States. But back then, in the '80s, was about getting married. You are
Mm-hmm.
female, you get married,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the thing that she inserted. I have to get married
Mm-hmm.
in order to be out of her house. I need to be married. So
Right, right.
that was the unfortunately I didn't have someone to guide me to know that the United States is not like my country.
Mm-hmm.
I could get from high school to go to the university and get a career.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had to get married first to really get out of my mother's house to
Mm-hmm.
be independent. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how was the culture back then. In order for you to be independent, you have to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And not here that in order for you to be independent, you have to go to university, a
Right,
college.
right.
That is the model that I believed, and I did exactly like the culture that I was brought up, and I got
Yeah.
married first, and then later on there was the conversation, and I found out that I didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was 19 years old. I got married. I finished high school, and right finished high school, I got married.
Okay, right away.
Yes, because
Okay.
I did not know. Now
Yeah.
knowing and having the orientation and conversation around it,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't.
Got you, got you, got you. Okay, so you get married out coming out of high school, and then at what point are you thinking, okay, I need to like figure something else out? Like as you start like learning American culture and you're seeing that, okay, I don't have to necessarily just be a married wife, right? Or, wife, mother, stay at home. Like at what point do you start thinking about careers and what do you want to do for work and kind of how you want to change your life based on the options that you have? Like when does that start to become a
Uh,
factor?
that really started to get to me when my children were around 5 years old, when they
Hmm.
3 years old, when they went to a school, like a daycare
Hmm.
and a preschooler. And
Hmm.
that's when one of the colleagues there, the people that were there, was no, because the Head Start program here in America really kind of guides a lot of the parents. They have the parent coordinator, and they
Hmm.
do meetings every monthly,
Hmm.
and they kind of guide the parents to have a profile of the parents. What is your future? What do you would like to do for yourself? How
Hmm.
to get out of poverty? Because even though I was married, I was not really off, enough financially to go to college, and
Hmm.
I was not a U.S. citizen to
Hmm.
qualify for any financial assistance.
Hmm.
So that was one of the biggest things for me, is to kind of open up my mind that it can be done. I can go to college even though I am a mother of two little boys.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that really helped me to kind of look around, because my desire was as a child, and since I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a biologist.
Okay.
Yes, and actually be a chemistry biology and work in a lab.
Mm-hmm.
and figuring it out things there in nature, because that's something that I enjoy a lot. It was nature and
Uh-huh.
going around and finding different aspect of why is this water looks like this, why is this, dirt look like that, and the other
Mm-hmm.
dirt is the different dirt,
Mm-hmm.
and the leaves and all those things that was captivating to me. So I wanted to be a biologist, a
Mm-hmm.
chemical biologist.
Okay. So where did that love for to be a chemical biologist come from? Like, is that something like how did you develop that? How did you get exposed to that like as a teenager when you're little? Like, where did that come from?
I think because when I was a child, I did
Mm-hmm.
a lot of not so much of the girly things. I did
Mm-hmm.
more of the boy stuff, going
Mm-hmm.
fishing, going
Mm-hmm.
in the ponds, and walking around the nature itself. And I was fascinated to see the difference of the textures of dirt when I would walk around,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them were muddy, and some of them were drier, and some of them were black, and some of them were gray, and that really kind of made me think, why are those colors? And
Yeah.
I think it was a natural thing of a scientist's mind of asking the questions,
Yeah.
right? A scientific mind always asks the questions, why and how come, and how can we change it? Can it be done? So those hypotheses that I created in my mind as an 8, 9 year old,
Yeah.
and it stayed with me. And then I would see my mother cleaning with products and say, why does the cleaning product get the dirt out,
Mm-hmm.
or the bleach does this and that? So I was, secretly mix things up in the house to see
Yeah.
what would happen, and
Uh-huh.
have a little personal lab,
Yeah.
and I would collect bugs and figured it out. Why is this bug, this beetle, is the
Yeah.
same family of a beetle? Why are they different?
Yeah.
And why? What is their purpose in nature
Yeah.
to be the way they are? So that was those questioning,
Yeah.
and that it stayed with me for many, many years.
Okay. So you had this interest based on the environment that you were in, right? So you're
Yes.
kind of going out in nature, you like being outdoors, you like, chemicals and you like all this stuff. So as you're learning these things and you're curious and you're observing this, a lot of it is just you observing your environment.
Yeah.
Are you taking sort of this interest into school and talking to your teachers, like your science teachers, and saying and kind of, working on projects with them and kind of explain to them that, hey, I actually have an interest in this, or this is just something that you just feel like is just a part of you?
It's just a part of me because this is the only thing different that I had seen here in the United States. There was not a lot of interactions with the students in when I was in high school to kind of
Mm-hmm.
figure it out what I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
and what is my professional pathway.
Mm-hmm.
That was I don't remember anybody sitting down with me. Hey, Rosa, let's have an assessment and figure it out what you want to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, even the school counselor never actually sat down with us. They only sat down with us to figure out what classes the next semester or the next school year we're going to take in order to graduate. That was the only thing I'll talk about the grades, but no
Yeah.
one really sat down with me to actually say, hey, Rosa, this is what you do for your future career. What's
Yeah.
your interest?
Yeah.
So that didn't happen,
I got
unfortunately.
you. I got you. And we'll cover some of that when we get to the parenting section. But we still need to uncover the professional aspect for you. So as you start figuring out that, okay, I want to, pursue a career, like what are some of the things that you start looking at that you're like, hey, this is possible, this fits into what I
Mhm.
want to do? What are some of those
So
things?
went to Georgetown to figure it out how to enter the school there, because I started looking up in the back then in the 80s, no, early 80s, there was no really computer
Mm-hmm.
to Google things. You just went to the library, local library, which is the
Right.
Mount Pleasant Library. That was my home base,
Mm-hmm.
places to find information.
Yeah.
And so talking to the librarian there, there's a catalog of all the universities in the District of Columbia and what the programs they have applicable to each one of the careers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. I went over to the library and
Yeah.
got the reference book, and that helps to narrow it down to short Georgetown. And I started going there, working towards my career. I did only 2 semesters
Hmm.
because, financially I could not have continued to afford. So I had to pay by semester, by classes, what
Yeah.
I could afford at that
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So I didn't continue to do it.
Yeah.
Later on, when my youngest son, my oldest son was in a Head Start program, I started noticing and observing because remember I told you the Head Start has this wonderful aspect of helping parents to find themselves and figure
Hmm.
it out what they want to do for their lives, not just to stay stagnated in the
Hmm.
same kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And one of the things they talked about it was um, uh, how children learn.
Hmm.
And that was the part that, as a parent, I did not know. I could buy books for my
Yeah.
kid and get a puzzle for my child and work and play with my child. I did
Yeah.
not know those aspects of it. So my son, the first day of school, the teacher, Miss Monia, gave him a puzzle, a
Hmm.
five-piece puzzle, and kind of flip it over, showed him one time, and then flip it over again, and told him to do it himself.
Hmm.
And I was completely fable that,
Yeah.
oh my God, this child, the first time in his life, 3 years old, got to do a puzzle all by himself. And
Yeah.
I never seen that before. So that's when it hit me that I wanted to do more of the psych to learn around how really children and human beings, us,
Hmm.
learn things, and also how is this process happens within the brain. So
Yeah.
I decided to go and study a psychologist instead.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I
Change
love
it.
that.
It should
Yeah.
change from one really,
Yeah.
a career to a completely different
Yeah.
career, which it was psychology, because I really wanted to understand the process within the brain of
Yeah.
those connections, what happened inside the brain that he actually able to do this at 3 year old.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think what it highlights is this superpower that you have that's been inside of you probably from the day you were born is that you have this curiosity and this thirst for knowledge. Like you want to learn, you want to understand. And I think that may seem like second nature to you, and it may seem like, okay, just normal, right? But that's a very like a special gift for people to be curious and to want to learn and want to understand. So I'm recognizing it's the same theme with you, right? When you were talking about being the chemistry, a chemical biologist and psychologist, the same thing. It's, both of them really stem from your curiosity and your thirst for knowledge. So talk about that a little bit and about not just your thirst for knowledge, but also how you proactively, you're curious, but then you proactively seek out the thing that you're curious about.
I do a lot of the research.
Hmm.
Really, I spend a lot of time at the library, the Mount Pleasant Library when I was younger.
Hmm.
Young adult and a mom. And even today, if I hear something specific related to a topic, I
Hmm.
become curious, and
Hmm.
I go and do the complete research, not just to listen to videos, but
Hmm.
actually go into books or periodicals, journals to find out what happened.
Hmm.
Why is this continuously to happen? Like, for instance, right now with the political aspect of the United States, I was curious to know why
Hmm.
some people will believe one over the others, and what is the main idea in their mind that will
Hmm.
suffice the need to say that I'm this group of Republican or this group of Democrat. Well, I believe in this, I believe in that when it comes to political
Hmm.
affiliation.
Hmm.
So I really was curious to find
Yeah.
out more and more about it. So I do a lot of the research because when I become curious of something, it stays in my mind so much
Yeah.
that till that thirst is not satisfied, I
Yeah.
won't let go
Yeah.
of it until I kind of understand and then debate with other people to figure it out. Is
Yeah.
this what the research is really saying? And when I see the evidence of people, within their mentality,
Yeah.
that's when I say, oh, it is very much in coincides with the research that I have
Okay.
done. Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that. So how far down the psychology rabbit hole did you go? So as once you figured out, okay, you watch your son with the puzzle, and then you're fascinated by how his brain works and how his mind is mo moving, and then you're like, let me go down psychology. So talk to us about the psychology path that you took.
I went to because I started working
Hmm.
at the one of the things that his teacher noticed it is the easy aspect that I had with children
Hmm.
because I will volunteer because I was working only part time in the evening, no, in the afternoon. So I would stay in the morning time until 10 o'clock before I went over to work. And she saw that, no, Rosa, you're really good with children. You're really good in transferring information to children because it's not just about teaching, it's how
Hmm.
the methodology of
Hmm.
teaching.
Hmm.
And I said, really? I did not know that. So I became curious about it.
Hmm.
So she said, well, there's somebody's going to be taking off for maternity leave. Maybe you want to apply for the position. And that's what I did. I applied for the position in 87, and I became the floater as a
Hmm.
teacher for the pre-K program there. And I was the floater and then after a while, the director saw that I had the potential to be, an assistant teacher.
Hmm.
And I became permanently there. And she really saw a lot of the curiosity that I had, the
Hmm.
questioning,
Hmm.
why we do these things, why we have to write a lesson plan, how is the objectives the lesson plan is implemented, how can we measure the children action. So those questions, and she said, you know what, you're very good to, you need to go to school.
Uh-huh.
You need college.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to, she gave, had a, what do you call the, um, Bill Clinton had passed a bill
Hmm.
that was to allocate a specific amount of money
Hmm.
for early childhood educators at that time. So that money came into the District of Columbia, and with that, the Head Start program also. So I got a scholarship, a full tuition scholarship to go to Howard University.
Okay.
And I was there at Howard University for about 3 years. I didn't finish the psychology class, the
Uh,
psychology major,
hmm.
because life happened, and the program where I was working, they kind of fell apart.
Hmm.
And because I was not able to transfer anything else to another organization that
Right.
had this funding, I had to drop out.
Yeah.
And I was not able to continue with the psychology major over Howard University. And
Okay.
from Howard University, I changed over to Trinity to finish the last few years. But then the program they had, so I will not lose so many of my credits,
Hmm.
was human development. So I had an
Mm.
undergrad in human development there.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I got into changing over. So I had the human development piece, that's my major in my BA in human development.
Okay. I love that. I love that. So I mean, again, it's a consistent theme, right? Because you're looking at, it's your curiosity, your thirst for knowledge. Then you're looking at how your son sort of how he's taking off, how he's learning, and you're kind of figuring out how the brain works, how he's doing things. You go into psychology, then you move over into human development. So how rewarding has your ride been for you professionally, right? The work that you've done, and when you look back and you think about, okay, I've gone through all these different sort of facets and these different pivots I've had along the way. How do you sum up, those experiences?
I think the one of the biggest things for me has been one of the positive things about it is that I'm a go getter. I need
Hmm.
to go and get done.
Hmm.
I don't stay behind. I'm very committed. If I'm, something that I'm gonna do, I'm committed to it.
Hmm.
The other thing that I didn't receive a lot, it was the guidance of
Hmm.
how to do things, and a mentorship.
Hmm.
I see a lot of people had, talk about, oh, I had a mentor, I had somebody helping me out to figure it out things. I didn't. I had to figure it out all by myself.
Right.
I had anybody to do that for me. I had people who believed in me, like the director of that program, the pre-K program, believed
Hmm.
in me enough to get, at least have the open door.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also working in a school system, working here in the District of Columbia with education itself. So I got into the education field and I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I found my purpose. And that's the thing, the trajectory is that I found my purpose with all from chemical biology to
Yeah.
psychology to education and being
Yeah.
a teacher. that that's really what I saw, and I figured it out. That is my purpose. That's my
Mm-hmm.
calling,
Mm-hmm.
is to educate others, to
Mm-hmm.
be a mentor to others. Even though people were not mentored to me, I
Right.
have mentored to other people who are younger than myself, who have I have guided them to have the career and then
Yeah.
have the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
If something you see yourself as long term,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what really brought me to realization that I am a educator, and that's my passion, and I love it. I enjoy it, and so much so that I got a master's in education, and then I got another master's in special education. I did not wanted to do a doctor degree because I think the doctor degrees really doesn't emphasize anything. There's more
Mm-hmm.
research
Yeah.
based,
Yeah.
but it won't really add it to my knowledge.
Okay, Rosa, so you've gone through this beautiful trajectory where you've, sort of forged into education, right? You started off psychology, then you moved into human development, then now you're a full-blown educator. So let's talk about how all these experiences have helped you to shape you in the way you parent, right? With all the experiences that you've had, you didn't have a lot of guidance, when you came in high school, especially from the school counselors. Your mom has kind of learned the system. You're learning the system at the same time when you come to America. So there's an adjustment period, right? So sometimes some things fall through the cracks. But you go through everything that you went through, and now you have a degree, you're in school. How have all these experiences shaped you in terms of how you were a parent to both of your sons?
As a young mother, because I didn't have the knowledge that I have today,
Mm-hmm.
let's be clear. And what I am as a parent today, as an adult, I mean, my children are adults, and I have grandchildren. Is much different than it was when I was a young mother.
Mm-hmm.
My style when I was a young mother was only about providing the safety
Mm-hmm.
and providing, responsibility. I was a very responsible parent.
Mm-hmm.
I get them up, get them dressed, get them food, take them to school, pick them up. So it was very routine like
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Not really thinking about the part of the psychology piece, which is
Mm-hmm.
the emotions, the
Mm-hmm.
temperament. What are they built for, and how to guide them to the next future,
Mm-hmm.
and how to guide them on to do the best thing. And also the other part was that I grew up in a very religious kind of closed mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not know I was harming my children to really be very close, and
Mm-hmm.
everything it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was like, you go to the movies, that's wrong. Watching
Mm-hmm.
more than 2 hours TV, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was bad. So I was restricted, and I have very restricted mentality at that time when they were young. So it kind of really caused a lot of situation in their lives, bad choices,
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to prove themselves in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they, as I could say, maybe the last 10, 15 years, that I really, gradually realized that a lot of the things that I did when they were young, it was incorrect. It was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the best approach. And then
Mm-hmm.
the environment that I brought them with a dysfunctional a family, which their father was an addict.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having that also causes a lot of the situation that they got themselves in when they were teenagers and young adults.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're as adults in their 40s and so on. They really wished I was this mom that I am today
Yeah.
when they were little,
Right.
because I can have a conversation. I can really debate with them about really complex life situation. They will
Mm-hmm.
call me
Mm-hmm.
to ask for suggestion and guidance
Mm-hmm.
and say, Mom, what should I do about this? And
Mm-hmm.
they are managers in different companies, and they want to know, how do I manage this staff member,
Yeah.
so I don't lose my job and kill this person or
Yeah.
harm this person
Yeah.
emotionally. So that gives me a lot of pleasure and satisfaction to know that
Yeah.
at least I became a better parent, even though they are an adults,
Yeah.
and they know that they can rely on me to tell them the truth and to tell and guide them with really solid foundational wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the biggest things for me. Yes, I
That's
like that.
that's awesome. So what you're saying also is that parenting never ends.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not.
Yeah.
And you're a parent. You're always gonna be a parent. Doesn't matter what age they are. The children, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of scary because you don't know what the choices they have out there. Ourselves, we make choices,
Mm-hmm.
and our choices may be good or may be bad, but it's nice to know that they can go to someone.
Yeah.
They can come to mom and say, hey mom, is this a good idea?
Yeah.
And you might say, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Now they my youngest son has the teenagers, and he say, mom, I really don't like my teenager kids. Is that okay? Is that
Yeah.
normal not
Yeah.
to like them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is okay not to
Yeah.
like them in that particular part of their development.
Yeah.
We still love them, but
Yeah.
we don't like that
Yeah.
attitude
Yeah.
and the way they coming about. And it's okay not to
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is to be consistent, because that's exactly what they want to look for. Is that
Yeah.
my father will fluctuate with his portion of the life and the ethic. Will
Yeah.
he band?
Yeah.
I said, don't bend. You don't not bend. Be
Yeah.
like the palm tree. The
Yeah.
wind comes and
Yeah.
go over, but you don't bend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So what about as a grandparent? How have like those experiences helped to shape you as a grandparent?
My grandchildren, when they were little, they loved to be here with me.
Yeah.
Now they are teenagers now, and
Yeah.
they kind of get bored.
Yeah.
Grandma is not doing all. They want to go shopping. I say,
Yeah.
look at here, no, no, you guys are too expensive to go shopping, because they want
Yeah.
their $150 shoes, and
Yeah.
the top is
Yeah.
like $75. Why are we spending $75 for this?
Right. Right.
For this top, oh, it's because it got this name on it. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, I
Yeah.
am not doing it right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, they started to come out of the teenager years.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are getting to 18 and 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be liking me a little more.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do some other things besides going shopping mall,
Shopping. Yeah.
the mall.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So talk to us about some of the cultural challenges that you had to adjust to. You talked about seeing snow for the first time when you got here, but coming from Brazil and coming to, Washington, D.C., what were some of the cultural challenges outside of just learning the language? What were some of the other things? And then you talked about the religion also, like how, and not knowing that you didn't have to necessarily follow the same cultural norms that you would have to kind of follow in Brazil
Yeah.
when you got here. So what were some of those challenges that you had to encounter and kind of overcome?
Number one, that I did not know I was black.
Yeah.
People will ask me, "Oh, are you black?" I say,
Yeah.
no, I'm not black. I'm
Yeah.
Brazilian. What are you
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about? That
You're
was
light brunette.
that was not. I said, oh, that mean you're white? I said,
Yeah.
no. What are you talking about? I
Yeah.
am Brazilian. That's all
Yeah.
I know. That
Yeah.
I'm Brazilian. But really, what helped me to understand African American culture, that was one of the biggest kind of shock for me. It
Yeah.
was that, and also the about hair, the female and this whole love and hate of hairs.
Yeah.
That to me was the hardest thing for me to understand. Why are they so consumed with hair? Because
Yeah.
I really have a long hair. I have it
Yeah.
over here like this because
Yeah.
it's It's I get hot, so I
Yeah,
just put my hair up.
yeah,
And when I was, going to the school that I used to work with, the Head Start program, my hair was all the way in the back of
yeah,
my head, and it was really long, and they just hated for what is this thing about the hair?
yeah, yeah,
And they just taught, no, they will call me like I was uppity,
yeah,
and I was
yeah,
this and that, and I couldn't
yeah,
understand. That was the biggest shock for me
yeah,
when I started working in here in the District of Columbia.
yeah,
It was this hair problem
yeah,
and this fascination with being black. What
yeah,
is that? What is
yeah.
that
You
to
have
be
to pick a
black?
side.
Yeah, I had to pick a side.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well, I don't have to pick a side because
yeah,
my family is shade, all the shades
yeah,
of color, of
yeah,
skin color,
yeah,
from the blue eyes and blonde person to the very dark, like almost a shade of purple.
yeah,
My aunt, her nickname was Purple because she
yeah,
was so dark.
yeah.
You could actually see the purple, in her skin
Hmm.
color. So in Brazil, at least when I was growing up, there wasn't this emphasis about being black or
Yeah,
white. It was
yeah,
just an emphasis so much of, yeah, do you got money?
yeah, yeah,
Is more of the status of
yeah,
financial status. If you had the money,
yeah,
fantastic. And of course, there is this really thing about the darker the person is in Brazil, they ridicule more.
yeah.
They talk about more than it is of somebody who is much lighter skinned, like myself, to a lighter shade.
Hmm.
But that is a reality in Brazil.
Yeah,
But here is like you gotta pick a side. Either you are in favor of the white people or you
yeah.
in favor of the black people. And
Right,
I'm like,
right.
I'm not in favor of anybody.
Yeah,
I'm just a Brazilian.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
all.
Trying to make your way.
No, that was the biggest shock for me. The
Yeah.
other is the food.
Hmm.
And from the white, the white American food, like, oh my God, this is really bland,
Yeah,
to the African American food,
yeah,
which I thought it would have too much fat and
yeah,
sweetness. I
yeah,
always have some kind of sugar,
yeah,
some kind of melassa or
yeah,
something that is too heavy.
yeah,
In I was a vegetarian when I came over here.
yeah.
I've been a vegetarian since I was 11 years old.
Hmm.
And to me, it was like overwhelming, the
Yeah,
food, the taste, and
yeah,
and things. So I still cook my Brazilian food. I still cook my own food
yeah,
today,
yeah,
and I can do. And even the candy, to me, it was like there's no flavor. It's
yeah,
all sugar.
yeah,
So those are the things that shocked. It was shocking for
yeah.
me. It was that the music, it wasn't, because we always heard the American music all over the world, and
Hmm.
then there was no there in my country. But the food and the this whole idea of being black
Hmm.
in
Yeah,
America.
yeah.
And
Those were the major adjustments you had to make.
yes, I
Yeah,
had to make,
yeah,
yeah, basically
yeah.
figured it out. And I still today, I have a lot of my friends are African American. They all black. All
Hmm.
my friends are black.
Hmm.
I had more discrimination with black uh, here in America than I had with white. I never had a looking at me and discriminative
Yeah,
with a white person at all.
yeah, yeah,
Never did.
yeah,
Never had it. But I had more encountered with African American, especially women in the
yeah,
District of Columbia, than any place else. Being discriminated, being ridiculed,
yeah,
being talked about it, gossiping about it. I
yeah,
mean, I disliked it.
yeah.
You name it. I was a lot with Black American women here.
You're just trying to live. So let me ask you this. Did you when you came as a teenager, as a 15-year-old, what was the community like for you? Like in terms of the Brazilian community? Like how connected were you to like the local Brazilian community and what was that like?
Not a lot, because my mother, when she came, she was here 3 years before I came,
Hmm.
3 or 4 years before I came. So
Hmm.
she was connected to the Brazilian community, but there were a lot of conflicts that she hated. So she didn't allow me to be part of the Brazilian um, community here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more in the Hispanic community than I was with the Brazilian community, or
Mm-hmm.
either by myself
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. So I really didn't connect with
Yeah.
them that much at all.
Okay. And how big is the Brazilian community in the DMV?
Not very big, very
Yeah.
scattered.
Yeah.
Mostly in Montgomery County, you will see more of them
Mm-hmm.
in those area, Montgomery County,
Yeah.
than it is here in PG County. It's very
Gotcha.
scattered.
Yeah.
Now, when I went to Miami,
Yeah.
I see a lot of Brazilian more. It's
Yeah.
about 200, 300,000
Yeah.
Brazilian.
Orlando?
Yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
Orlando, definitely,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's a lot of restaurants, Brazilian restaurants, and
Yeah.
places like that. And the other place is New York,
Mm-hmm.
that I saw a lot of Brazilian there. And the other part is Massachusetts, in Boston. There's
Mm-hmm.
a neighborhood in Boston, Massachusetts, that
Yeah.
is all concentrated,
Yeah.
a mix of Brazilian and Portuguese from
Yeah.
Portugal.
Yeah.
So yes, I visit those areas,
Yes.
and you
Okay.
very concentrated amount of Brazilians in those places.
Gotcha. And then so your sons, like how connected were they growing up, like going to Brazil? Like how often did you take them?
No,
What?
I never took. Remember,
Yeah.
financially, I couldn't even
Yeah.
afford too much of going to school. So when I
Yeah.
was going to school, it was only as much as I could pay for it
Gotcha. Gotcha.
until I got the scholarship.
Yeah.
And because their father was an addict, there was not sufficient money. 80,
Yeah.
90% of the money went out
Gotcha. Yeah.
to support his habits.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. So how do they like? What's their identity like? Do they see themselves as Brazilian?
No, they see
No.
themselves a Black American because
Yeah.
the neighborhood
Yeah.
where in Addis Morgan
Yeah.
in Mount Pleasant area and
Yeah.
those areas. I mean, at that time, I don't know if you know the area where
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about in District of Columbia. In the school where they went,
Yeah.
Wilson High School,
Mm-hmm.
and all is 80% of all Black.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they identify themselves like Black, and
Yeah.
they talk Black, they
Yeah.
act Black, they
Yeah.
even walk like a Black man. So even
Yeah.
though they might say to other people, "Oh, my mom is Brazilian and
Yeah.
their father is Hispanic,"
Yeah.
but they identify themselves as being
As
Black.
black. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like the fact that they are Black.
Yeah.
I mean, because when they were little, they looked very Hispanic because
Yeah.
their father Hispanic.
Yeah.
And people will ask, "Are they your kids or are you babysitting them?" But no,
Yeah.
they're my kids.
Yeah.
So when they got to about 8 years old,
Yeah.
their hair started getting kinky
Yeah.
and
They start to
thicker.
shift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they started getting darker. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, thank goodness, you're gonna look
Yeah.
like me more,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like Black,
Yeah.
more like Brazilian in my
Yeah.
mind of what Brazilian looks like."
Yeah. So what would you say are some of those like cultural traits that you kept from, being born in Brazil, like growing up in Brazil that you kind of passed down to your kids? What are some of those like Brazilian traits that you made sure that you instilled them into your children?
I think it's mostly has to do with the food because they
Hmm.
do, want to, especially my youngest son,
Yeah.
he does cook a lot of the food, the Brazilian
Hmm.
food, because he used to be so active child.
Hmm.
So I would sit him down near me as I was cooking to get him to focus and stop being so
Yeah.
mischievous.
Yeah.
And he actually learned how to cook by observing me. And
Okay.
I didn't even know that he was actually learning how to cook by observing me.
Okay.
So he does like the cooking. So he's the only one that kept a lot. My oldest kept most of the language.
Hmm.
But youngest one, he really didn't keep a lot of the language. So when they
Yeah.
speak to their grandmother, they make a lot of error, grammatical error,
Yeah. Yeah.
tremendously. But my oldest, he does speak it much better
Okay.
Portuguese than my youngest
They're the
one.
youngest. So
Yeah,
you spoke to them in Portuguese at home
yeah, all the
when they were,
time.
yeah.
They were
Yeah.
listening to in Portuguese. They were
Yeah.
listening simultaneously. Also, they Hispanic
Yeah.
language too,
Yeah.
and they learn the English in school.
Yeah.
But I think they're much stronger with the English than it
Yeah.
is in. So I don't consider them fully bilingual.
Yeah.
but they are semi-bilingual.
Yeah, they can get by.
They do. People love it because they see these two black men, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
They have my complexion, but they
yeah,
tall.
yeah,
And my oldest is 6'3", and my
yeah,
youngest is I don't know, 5'11",
yeah,
and they're big, and
yeah,
they kind of intimidating if they
yeah,
go to to places.
yeah. That's really cool, man. Well, Rosa, thank you for sharing the story, man. It's a fun story. Thank you for sharing. I know a lot of people are gonna identify with your journey, so I appreciate you taking the time out to share the story with us. It took us a while to get this done, but I'm grateful and thank you very much for doing this.
No, thank you. I mean, I'm very sorry, apologetic, but I
Yeah,
was overwhelmed with so much
yeah,
stuff to do. So it was the end of the I know account that balance because I had to make sure that the accounts of the students so they can be able to register for the summer program. I have to make sure that they're balanced and
yeah.
everything else is ready for the registration for the summer. So that's why I said no, I gotta focus.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this, and thank you guys for joining us on another episode of the Immigrant Education Collaborative Podcast. We'll see you next time.
See ya.